Welcome to Boys episode 51. I'm Robbie.
I'm Josh.
And we are here with a very special episode tonight. We were hooked up with OKC Comedy.
We definitely were. It was the first one, so I was a little nervous, but it ended up being a really good ep. The plan was to do it before his show, which wasn't really so much stand-up as it was informative. It was really awesome.
It was 2 shows.
Mm-hmm.
The first was more of a traditional stand-up with a lot of heavy mind-expanding talk, DMT, things of that nature, psychedelics, mind, body, and soul type shit. And then, after that, took a little break, came back, did like an hour and a half just DMT talk. And that one wasn't as, I mean, it was funny, but it wasn't as comedy.
It was more informative. It was definitely like a
couple chuckles here and there, but it was really interesting. We did the podcast immediately after, and we'll get to that in just a moment. But first, we have a few things to talk about here. Number one, OKC Comedy shows coming up. That's at okccomedy.com. I was going to say Jimmy Pardo, April 27th, but I believe this is coming out right after that.
Yeah, the next day.
All right, so I hope you had fun at Jimmy Pardo.
Hope you had a good
time. May 11th, we have Nick Thune.
Nick Thune's awesome. Get fucking tickets to Nick Thune. You don't want to miss that one.
I'm on it. And then June 10th, we have the illustrious Tig Notaro.
Obviously, I have a feeling that one's going to sell out.
Yeah. I'm digging going to these shows at ACM Performance Lab. Yeah. First one I wasn't quite sure about.
What was your first show that you went to there?
Well, I mean, I've been to shows there.
Right.
Music, I'm not so hot on there. Comedy, I think it's just the right size. Right. Got a nice bar. Marion's doing a good job.
Well, it's set up really well, too, for comedy.
For sure. And we were backstage interviewing our guest, our wonderful guest for this week. And before we get to that, we have a few things to plug.
We sure do. We have, first and foremost, boyspodcast.com, hub to all things social media. Go to our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all of that.
There's links to everything on boyspodcast.com. So that is at the top of the list, I would say.
Top of the list. And then Anthem Brewing, secondly, for writing ales, lagers, pilsners.
All kinds of good stuff.
All that kind of shit. Great company, great guys. Then our buddy Matt at Fat Bison, fatbison.com, making beautiful wood signs.
A quick aside, we gave away a sign at our live show, which I deleted, and the girl who won, I forget her name, pardon me for forgetting her name, wonderful young lady, very, very sweet winner. She was a winner.
Yeah,
she's a real winner. And that night she won the sign, and she was so excited. So if you're looking for a sweet gift that can be custom made, go to fatbison.com, check them out.
And it's end of April, beginning of May. What's coming up? Dads and grads.
Cross them both off the list.
Should be good.
In one order. Yeah, and last but not least, thank you to, let's see, who else we got here? The list is getting longer and longer. Let me check out the list here. I guess thanks to us, because we're on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud.
All of it.
And if you do like us and you want to thank us with a little moolah,
we have a donate button on our at theboyspodcast.com page. There's a golden donate button right there in front of your fucking face when you pull the page up. So you can click on it. You can donate $1. You can donate whatever interval you wish.
That's right. And thank you to those who have donated. We really appreciate it. It's a really nice thing to check that inbox and see that we've got a little cash, because we get to supplement our gear, our bandwidth.
Buy SD cards that you're going to erase.
Yeah.
All that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, cables break. Mic stands tend to shit out from time to time. It's the little things that really help keep this thing going without hurting our pockets too deeply, And
if you don't want to give cash, the best thing you could do, rate and review on iTunes.
Definitely.
Give us a like on Facebook, Instagram, comment, be engaged.
Share the show with someone you think might enjoy it.
Absolutely. That is the most important thing you could do. So thank you for listening. And without further ado, Shane Mauss. Okay, let's make sure this is recording. The red light's on. The clock is rolling.
Awesome.
We're here with Shane Mauss.
Hello.
After a wonderful experience tonight, man, I'm going to be straightforward right off the bat. I'm familiar with your work on several podcasts.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but I wasn't super familiar with your stand-up. So I do what I should do as a podcast host. By the way, I'm Robbie. This is Josh.
Hi, Robbie and Josh.
And we got Shane Mauss here. And thank you so much, by the way, for doing this. You did 2 sets tonight.
Yeah.
Break in between, met with the crowd again afterwards, and we're here. It is 12:38 a.m.
Yeah.
And this is the latest I think we've ever done an episode.
I would say
Was I supposed to do this before the show? I feel like maybe I was. Did someone reach out to me? Spencer, did you tell me I was supposed to be here?
Did Spencer drop the ball?
Spencer fucked up.
I mentioned that we could do it whenever you...
I just totally fucking forgot.
Well, the thing is you're doing us
it's
all good.
You're here now.
You're doing us a favor, so we're here for you, and we appreciate you being here for us.
Well, I appreciate your patience.
Absolutely.
Those are 2 long shows to sit through.
They were awesome shows, and they're 2 totally different. Well, not totally different. You know, the same
all
kind
different material.
But I mean, kind of in the same vein of what
you saw part 1 and 2
exactly. And if were there people that went to just one or the other?
I saw people coming in and paying at the door for the second show.
Yeah,
which was cool.
Some people saw it the last time I was through my other show. Last time I was through a good trip, and so some of those people I think maybe came back for the DMT show.
Yeah.
Well, so I in getting ready for tonight, I dove in to what you have out there. Watched your special on Netflix, Mating Season from 2013. Listened to 3 albums that are on Spotify.
Ooh,
big break. And
Jokes to Make My Parents Proud.
That's it.
Yeah.
And here's the deal, man. Like, not being familiar with your work, other than the podcast, man. Like, coming here tonight was kind of a mind fuck in more than one way. It was a mind fuck from the beginning, because I see this guy in like khakis and like very clean shaven, and like the jokes back then, and you even referenced this tonight. You know, they were a little more, standard stand-up comedian.
Well,
very science heavy.
Yeah, so I started as kind of an absurdist ish comedian, and that was Jokes to Make My Parents Proud was that. And then I went a different direction and decided I wanted to do themed shows. And then I did the Netflix special Mating Season, which is my worst work to date. And but it was like me just trying to figure out how to transition into doing this.
Sure.
And then I did My Big Break, which was good. I liked that. I was happy with that, and now I'm doing a themed show about psychedelics. Yeah,
it's mind-blowing, interesting, and we'll get into that here in a little bit. But just to give you kind of the premise of the show, we're boys, and kind of the backstory is we like to have people come on and perhaps bring a little insight as to how we got to where we are, and maybe tell a story about your childhood or adolescence, or you said you're from La Crosse, Wisconsin, or right outside of there. And that just sounds very white and very...
Super white. Yeah. I had a very, very wholesome upbringing.
Thanks, Cameron.
Very much so. Very, very boring. And very... Oh, I'll take one of those.
Yeah. We got Cameron Buckholz back here passing out some Mellow Corn whiskey. Thank you, Cameron. And we got Spencer sitting in as well. What's your name, sir?
Sean, Brewing.
Oh, Sean, very nice to meet you. Had a couple of your products tonight. They were delicious. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, these were delicious beers. How about a plug for Black Mesa? They make beers and they're good. Have you... you probably spent a fair amount of money on marketing. Did you know that someone just for free was going to give you the best slogan you've ever heard? We make beers and they're good.
We make beers and they're good.
That's the whole reason to get you back here tonight. We're just cutting a commercial for Black Mesa.
Yeah.
Which is funny because we're sponsored by Anthem Brewing, but you know what? There's room for everybody.
Yeah.
Great beers, great times, great comedians. All right. See you guys later.
Black Mesa will really creep up on a podcast.
Yeah?
He'll just bust. If he hears some other brewery is sponsoring a podcast,
Kool-Aid Man style, just kicking the door.
Oh, no. So, yeah, going back. Okay, so La Crosse, Wisconsin, white America, great America, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
For some.
Very nice, wholesome, pleasant people, especially if you're white.
Well, you had a kind of
toward other white people.
Right. Very inclusive.
In a real creepy way.
You had a bit about the cops on your special, and it got me to thinking of growing up and cops back then. Okay, so we're about the same age. You're 37.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 36. Josh, you're 35?
35. So it's a little timeline here.
Yeah, we're real close. And I remember when I was a kid, cops were the stereotypical kind of chubby. What's the guy from Super Troopers?
Farva?
Farva. They were that guy.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
they were bigger fellas, and now they all look like, I don't know what's that dude's name. Fuck, I'm blanking now. My mind is jelly right now.
Channing Tatum?
Yes, perfect. A hot cop.
Hot cop?
Like a hot cop.
Hot cup.
And I wonder, like, is that a prerequisite now? Like, is it? Do you
We
have to
need
be?
hotter cops.
Do you think?
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, it's possible that it's possible that that there's less and less jobs for people, and so standards are getting raised. For jobs, especially government positions like that. It's possible that police jobs are getting cushier over time, I imagine.
But wouldn't that make them fatter and not like more ripped?
I might make it so that more people want to be a cop, and then, but at the same time that they're getting cushier, the world seems scarier because of the news, the way the news portrays it. Yeah, and I mean, the news just keeps on trying to scare people more and more and more, and like any anomaly that they can show people is like, I saw a shark attack in Australia. I better never go in the ocean because there was one shark attack last year, half a world away.
And in Australia.
Well, and that's the thing. You know, technology, it brings us closer together, but one of the byproducts of that is you see something happen across the country or across the globe, and now that's happening next door. And it's like, man, I can't live in fear. Like I have lived in fear, and we'll get to that too, because that's something I want to talk about. But I'm getting to the age now, you get in your mid-30s, and you're like, well, I'm not dead yet, so I'm going to start taking some chances.
Oh, is that what you did? I went the other way.
Really?
Yeah, I never thought I'd live to see 35, and I lived as if I was going to die very young, and I was fully embracing it. And then when I hit 35, I was like, fuck, man, I bet I'm going to live like 35 more years. I better start taking care of myself.
See, my 20s were that. My 20s were that whole, like, not the I'm never going to die, but it was just like, fuck it. Fuck the world. We're all going to die. So I just like lived like just crazy, just doing whatever the fuck you wanted to. And then 30 hits, you're like, yeah, whatever. And then 35 is like, oh, okay, well, it's job. Like the thing you're talking about, like the spinning on the wheel, like, I guess I'll just have a job and do that. And then my thing is not, I'm going to live another 35 years. Like, I don't really want to live another 35 years. Although I guess scientifically I am. I could.
I hope so.
But why?
I like being an adult way more than I ever thought I would. I want to be more of an adult. I can't wait till I'm like 45 years old.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, when I'm in my 40s, that's going to be awesome. Most people don't have that mindset.
Well, yeah, whereas like when you're 22 and you're like, or you see like a 35-year-old at a bar when you're in your early 20s, like, fucking old man, get out of here. And now you're 35, like,
Well, it reminds me of when I was a kid. Like my father and my mother had me when they were very young. And I remember being like, you know,
I'm sorry.
I know it sucks. One of them's dead now, but that's neither here nor there. But I remember
saying I'm sorry as a joke, and then you really brought it down.
That's what we do here. But,
bringing it down.
no room for humor on the Boys Podcast.
You brought it up, and now we're back here in this beautiful backstage
just being
area.
Boys, talking about parents dying, just hanging out, being bros,
doing shots of corn whiskey and talking about death.
The people that we love.
Well, it's the one thing we all have in common.
Mortality is the thing.
The one thing we have in common, we're all going to die.
And talking like this.
Would you just do that from actually just don't do it now, but just put that in your set from now on.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's how I'm going to present myself. How do you think I should be? How do you think this guy's dressed?
Like in a NASCAR, Home Depot NASCAR jacket?
Yeah.
Really? That's not the way I picture it.
How do you picture him? V-neck, black t-shirt?
Let me think for a minute.
Does he have bleach tips? Because I'm imagining bleach tips in the hair.
This guy to me is just so ripped in.
He's extreme as fuck.
I think like maybe a suit jacket and shorts.
What? Like Carrot Top, chairman of the board kind of thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, very Carrot Top-y kind of, like a macho carrot. Actually, Carrot
Carrot
Top's
Top's pretty fucking
ripped.
it's pretty ripped. Yeah, so
dude.
probably
It's
Carrot
easy
Top.
to forget how ripped Carrot Top
But
is.
could you imagine Carrot Top coming out with that voice and his act like, hey, what is this? The toilet seat with the thing on? Well, fuck it, whatever. I'm Carrot Top. I'm ripped.
I just imagine him like pulling the voice out of the box and like eating it. And then,
Like,
and then all of a
that's his
sudden,
minute.
he's this ripped dude. But I always picture that picture of him like ripping those intense dumbbells or whatever they're called. I've never lifted
His
one in my
dumbbells
life.
are real wacky looking, though.
Intense dumbbell.
But so was like the visor and the top knot he had before top knots were cool.
Yeah.
And I just remember that picture in the plastic surgeries. Bad.
I actually went to a Carrot Top show in like 2000, early 2007. I was in Vegas, and I had some friends that had extra tickets, and I was like, I guess I'll go. And I actually enjoyed myself at Carrot Top, and I was like, does that mean I need to quit comedy? But I was like, that was really well put together. There's a lot of thought put into that, and it was
entertaining.
with the sound cues and
But
the visual cues.
You didn't go out and
Wow.
buy like a chest and like, I'm going to be I think prop comedy is where it's at. You didn't do that.
No.
He went to the school of top and just never looked back. But there's something to be said for that. Like, we all make fun of people. You had a Gallagher reference in your show tonight. And man, growing up, like, Gallagher was my jam, dude.
Oh, yeah, me too.
I have a framed Gallagher poster in my home.
I don't even know why Gallagher stopped being popular.
Because he's racist
Yeah,
as fuck.
probably that. I would
Like,
assume
Right. But that happened afterwards.
like that was
Yeah.
that was after the plane crashed or the watermelon was smashed or whatever.
There's a plane crash? You know so much more about Gallagher
Well,
than
his
I do.
career.
Oh, yeah. Things started going downhill. Well, when people feel vulnerable, they become more racist. That's actually a really well-tested, documented thing. Like, you can show people pictures of even like disease. Like, you can show people pictures of feces and then give them a survey on like how they feel about gay rights or affirmative action or whatever, and they'll be more against them afterwards. This is because your immune system is doing everything it can to keep up with the environment that it's already in. And so if it is already struggling, then it doesn't want to go out and seek new environments where there might be new threats. And this is all on an unconscious level that none of us realize that we do. And so once your career starts declining, once your health starts declining, that's why old people are so racist.
it's like looking at a picture of shit.
You get more and more scared of outgroups and new experiences. The more like you think like the world's going to hell. You're going to hell.
Yeah.
Like you're you're projecting. We
Well, it's
all
like
we all project our inner experience on this external world.
Well, it's like, I'm dying. I might as well hate a certain sect of people.
Yeah.
Makes me feel a little better about myself.
That could be part of it. Check that off the old bucket list.
Yeah.
I've always wanted to hate a group of people. Never have.
Better
Check that one
now that I'm
off.
80 years old, I'm just going to start hating the fuck out of people.
Well, it's also there's the prefrontal cortex is the stuff that makes us the most human. It was the last to evolve. It doesn't fully mature until you're about 25 years old. It's does a lot of your decision making, heavy lifting stuff, and this is why teenagers are such assholes, because theirs isn't fully developed. So it's the last to mature when you're 25, and then it's the first to start deteriorating once you start getting older. And so there's this idea that old people are like, oh, hey, what the heck, they say some crazy things, but that's just because they've been around the block and they understand things and they're just speaking their mind. No, they don't have impulse control anymore because their brain is actually deteriorating.
Well, that's super interesting because I hear that a lot. Like, being from Oklahoma, there's a lot of inherent racism. There's a lot of inherent, sexism, misogyny, whatever, whatever you want to call it.
Want to know something interesting about that?
Yeah.
There's some predictions made about so they figured out these varying levels. You show someone a disease-ridden thing, or you prime someone to be fearful, and then they're more against the outgroup. Well, so there's a prediction made. So spices are antimicrobial, meaning that they're good for fighting off these parasites and bacteria, and so the prediction was that areas that would have the most bacteria in them and people with the worst immune systems would naturally be drawn to more spices, and so they went around the world, and in the places that have that are the most friendly to bacteria are warm and humid climates, and then and so the prediction was in these areas closer to the equator, people would eat spicier food because it's a way of balancing that out and getting and getting some of those antimicrobial properties in. And so areas like Iceland have exceptionally bland food because they don't have to deal with those diseases, whereas areas like India have exceptionally spicy food because not only are they in these really hot climates, but they also have poor sanitation and everything else. And so it might very well be that people in the South are more racist because there's more bacteria here, and that's making them more prone to be fearful of outgroups.
I've never heard. That's fucking fascinating.
Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah.
I don't know.
How are you so smart, Shane?
I'm not.
Besides the drugs.
It's just things that I'm interested in. I have a podcast called Here We Are. I go around talking with scientists about how life works, and then little fun facts like that. I go, what the fuck?
What the fuck is that?
Just you wait. I mean, you think that like I'm smart, and that's how I know that. You'll be repeating those same fun facts to your friends for the next 2 weeks.
I started listening to your podcast recently. Just because I didn't realize you had one. Like I was like, oh fuck, because I've been a fan of your comedy, and then so I started listening. Like shit, like it is basically how you describe it is, I never finished college, went but never finished it.
Me
but
too.
I'm fascinated.
I didn't go to college actually.
I'm fascinated by all the same kind of things, but if you can have someone on the show and have them kind of explain it to you in a way that a college classroom never fucking could. And like, yeah, so as a listener, you get to hear, like, you learn at the same time, then kind of do the same. It's a really cool, it's a cool experience.
And then it forces me to do more research, just like you watched all my specials and albums and stuff like that. So it just naturally builds on itself. And yeah, so it's not like, it's not some magic thing, you know, you just, if you can just get a little more interested into doing learning about things that'll better your life.
Sure.
Like I should start studying like fitness. Maybe would be a good thing for me to start studying. Maybe sobriety.
So okay? You said you talked about it a little bit tonight in the second half.
Second show.
So yeah, the fitness thing, is it based on like? And it was in that kind of that bit of the own bit of like, do you want to do the fitness thing or just like to avoid? Was it literally avoiding the death thing, or is it just more of like?
No, that's me being a dick. And
because that's kind of my thing with it.
The bit but I mean, I do think that I mean, I don't think that our ancestors were like looked like The Rock or anything like that, but I do think that they were just
they weren't pudgy,
eating healthier and getting a lot more exercise, and I think that potentially us eating worse and getting less exercise is making us feel like shit, even though I'm one of these people that is I do remember when I was in the best shape of my life before I hurt myself. I do remember being also kind of the happiest that I ever was in my life. Unfortunately, at the same time, I was also writing the worst fucking material that I ever wrote. I was in great shape, and I lived across the street from the ocean in Malibu, and I'd go out on the beach each day and write, and I couldn't think of fucking anything funny. Because I was living in fucking paradise and like dating a hot girl and everything like that. So I was just like, what was there to joke around about?
Nothing's funny about living.
Well, you should move here. You'd have
tons.
You'd be Louis C.K. standard if you lived here. There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to take in.
Yeah. A lot of shit.
I want to ask, like, from somebody that's traveled all around, done a lot of things, both inside, outside, everything in between. What are your thoughts of Oklahoma?
Both outside and
in your brain.
In your
brain, man.
No, that makes sense.
Yeah,
this is my show about psychedelics. Gotcha.
Have you done drugs?
I've done a fair amount of drugs.
Like, have you done them?
No, man. You gotta do them.
You gotta do them and then talk about them, man.
Oklahoma City is...
I mean, you've been here before. This isn't your first rodeo.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little... I mean, my first impression of it is that it's like a little bit... it's got like a little too much of like a cookie cutter feel to it.
Yeah.
I don't... It's the same with like my upbringing, where it's just like a little... Not quite enough culture, and then... people being like very much in their comfort zone and very like complacent.
Oh yeah,
kind of.
There are two things.
But I don't know a fucking thing about Oklahoma City, by the way. My experience here is very limited.
Well, and not to talk shit, but there's like two things, like, because we're from here, so we can talk all the shit we want. It's like, number one, we call it the McMansion. It's like the sprawl, the urban sprawl. You know, it's like, oh, we got a new addition up in Edmond or a certain sect of Oklahoma City. But everything's kind of the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's built the same and the same designer. And, you know, you don't have a hand in building this house. You just buy this house. It's kind of just like this prefab.
Dallas is like that as well.
Oh yeah.
And that's not far from here. So like I grew up, like when we were young, going to Dallas was like getting away, because when we were young, Dallas had three things that were way, way far removed from here. They had 6 Point beer.
Ooh.
You cannot buy 6 Point beer in a gas station here still. Yeah. You can't buy wine or liquor anywhere but a liquor store.
Mm.
And they have very like small hours of operation.
Right.
Closed on Sundays, closed on federal holidays, closed at 9 p.m.
Well, it seems like it's working.
Oh yeah, it's great.
Yeah. We don't have a problem at all.
And then secondly, you know, you get a PF Chang's open. It's like, I'm gonna go have something fancy.
Yeah.
That's like some real Midwest shit right there.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, the first one was Starbucks. I remember my mom, I was in like
In
sixth.
fact, PF Chang's is a little too like maybe
It's
on
a
your
little too much.
anniversary.
Yeah,
or
maybe
something.
go to Payway
like
or
Cheesecake
something. Yeah.
Factory is like probably a better
When we got that
example.
one here, people freaked out. No, I remember when Starbucks first got here, my mom went in my bedroom, was like in sixth grade. She's like, there's a Starbucks. It's in Moore, which is like 30 minutes outside of where we lived. So we drove to Starbucks at like 10 at night to get Starbucks coffee because we freaked out about it. And that, I mean, but that's like, it's like that everywhere. And it spreads like a fucking virus.
Oh, yeah.
So every other small town, like Arkansas's next, like they're going to get all the shit. You know what I mean? Like, and it's almost like you're behind in the times.
I often feel like that with traveling all the time. I'm like, oh, I could just take any one of these businesses, move it into my hometown,
Bam.
and people be like, what the fuck is this? The future?
Yeah.
It was like when I, so my hometown, my parents are from a much smaller town in Iowa that was even that much more behind. And I remember I'd go to the, I used to collect baseball and basketball cards, and I would go to the, card dealer in this small town Iowa, and I would have a Beckett the price guide thing that was like 2 or 3 months ahead of whatever the one so I could just rip them fucking off.
That's some Back to the Future shit.
Yeah, it's like a real Back to the Future. And I think that you can hack small towns on that same way. In fact, I imagine a lot of people are doing that. And
small
if they
towns.
aren't, yeah.
We should turn our flipping business to small towns.
Well, that's what American pickers do. They go around and they rip off dying old men that have garages full of covered up motorcycles, and they fuck them over. Which, hey, more power to them. Like,
Sure.
YOLO.
In a way.
Yeah, it might be a win-win.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one thing for them to be like, oh, that guy didn't know this was worth $2,000, but so what if that was just going to rust away and get worse, and then they're going to die anyway? You know, it's already, I don't know. Yeah, I think there's a lot of win-win like stuff like I feel bad for people that just, I mean, so my whole psychedelic show that I do, I mean, I think the main point, and I should probably just say this more clearly, is that it's not about like doing drugs or whatever. I just wish people would have new experiences and put themselves out there and not be so fucking scared all the time and go I mean, a trip to Europe or something like that is way more of a trip than any fucking 4-hour or 6-hour mushroom trip or something like that. But it's just people aren't going and doing it in areas like this, areas like my hometown.
Well,
Right.
I'm interested in that because so you talk a lot about anxiety. You said you suffer from anxiety and depression. It's even on your Wikipedia page, like suffered from anxiety as a young guy.
I mean, that Wikipedia page was written by someone that went through a bunch of newspaper articles, and newspaper articles make everything seem like a hero story because I have such a fucking boring upbringing that you still need, like, if someone has success, like, for them to write an article, they still need to build it up like, this person triumphed over this and that.
Right.
He lost so many times in T-ball, and in that final season.
Yeah. And I mean, it certainly wasn't that I didn't have anxiety. It kept me from doing stand-up for 5 years that I wanted to be doing it. And I was horrified and had horrible stage fright. But I mean, that's nothing compared to, I mean, most people can't even get on stage. So, that's played up a little bit. I don't think, I mean, social anxiety, sure, that I feel that, but anxiety, depression is something that I definitely, without a doubt, I would not argue depression is something that has plagued me for a very, very long time. Anxiety, not so much.
Did you go the whole pharmaceutical route with that? Like,
no,
before? Just kind of just didn't do any of that?
No. Depression can be functional. I kind of like things. So I have exceptionally bad ADD. I mean, if it would have been born in a different time, I would have been all sorts of medicated. And I love my ADD. I think it makes me exceptionally creative and interested in different things than other people are. And depression is. Chronic depression, not so much, but depression has all sorts of evolved functions. I mean, my album, My Big Break, it didn't touch on depression, but it was a lot about the evolved functions of anxiety and fear and pain and like this idea of a negativity bias, like we were talking about with the news earlier, and why that is, why we evolved to feel that way. And so all of these things do have some functions. I think that I think that there's this odd idea in the world now where we think we're going to because like technology gets better and everything else, we think that our inner world will follow along that same path and go like, well, why can't I be why haven't we figured out happiness yet? And it's because there's lots of negative emotions that help you so much in life to help avoid getting yourself into trouble or to help avoid going down wrong. I mean, depression in particular is about making you sit back and think about taking the correct path in life rather than taking action down the same wrong path that you've been taking.
Yeah, totally.
And so yeah, I mean, I don't know. I go back and forth, and then, but there's certainly disorders. It's just that the shit's overly diagnosed these days. Oh yeah, and there's no appreciation for. You don't hear a lot about the functionality of these things.
Well, going back to like when I was a kid, you were a kid, Josh. We were all kids in that.
I was never a kid.
You're an old soul, Shane. But
I will be eventually. I'm gonna Benjamin Button it. I was actually.
Oh yeah, you're gonna go. You're rolling back.
I was born a 90-year-old man. I used to be wise, and now I just keep on getting dumber and more innocent as time goes by, and eventually I'll be a baby. I think I'll be a cute baby. I was a horrible old man.
Well,
well, you'll be a tall baby. So.
Yeah. No, I'm shrinking too. I'm gonna be a baby.
That is weird that happens physically though, that we all shrink. That is weird. Yeah, but continue. Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. The reason I bring up the anxiety thing, like I suffer from anxiety, right? Yeah. Like I had this aspiration of being a stand-up comedian. Like I have no problem talking into a microphone. I think I'm funny.
Sure.
All right. Shane Mauss approved. Fuck this shit.
I agree that you think you're funny.
Oh, great. Right. That's a great starting point. Okay. But getting into like the DMT thing, okay?
Sure.
Like a friend of mine.
Just the world's most powerful hallucinogen. You really gotta feed your audience a little more info. here.
What kind of info you want, Shane?
Well, do people know what DMT is? Do you
yes.
think?
Yeah, I would say the people.
It's pretty. Yeah.
The people that listen to this podcast are familiar with DMT.
They're boys. Yeah, boys know.
Boys know DMT.
Boys know DMT.
They know a few things.
But I feel like I interrupted.
No problem.
I feel like a terrible person right now.
Not at all. Not at all.
I have a friend, hypothetically, that made some DMT. Did the research. He's a really smart guy. Did the research, made some.
DMT is super easy to make.
Right. Well, okay, he's not that smart. Fine, Shane. The friend that's listening to this, you're not very smart. But he made some, and he did some. He did a lot. Like, he did it several times, and he was trying to get me to do it. And man, like, I have anxiety. Like, it's been a thing I've had since I was like 10, you know, or so. And I never did it because I'm so anxious about it. Like, I've done mushrooms several times, I've done some other things, smoked a little weed, whatever. But like, I wanna go down that rabbit hole so bad. But anytime it becomes like somewhat real, like, okay, this is gonna happen. Like, all right, I get so nervous that I just clam up, and I'm just too afraid. I'm just honestly just between us four guys here. Like, I'm too afraid.
We're boys.
Between us 4 boys here. 4 boys and a man. I'm too afraid. And even tonight, when you were talking, doing the second half, man, my palms were sweaty. It's like that Eminem song. Like, like I got nervous. I was like, even hearing about it, even though it sounds beautiful and amazing, and I want to experience it. When you were talking about it, I got nervous. I was just like clammy. I was sweating, and I was like, I just don't know, man. I just don't know. Like, do you have any words of wisdom? Like, should I just fucking quit being such a boy and just do it?
I don't know. I don't
Maybe
think it's
not.
for everybody. And I do definitely, I have noticed that people that have pretty severe chronic anxiety, at least in my experience, have pretty mixed reactions. I know a good friend of mine who he still likes doing it from time to time, but it never seems like a very positive experience when he does it. Not that's an overly negative one either, but
Right.
I mean, it's jarring and it's crazy. I don't think DMT is necessarily for everybody. I mean, I do think that people are all going to go through a DMT trip at one point in their life,
Right before they die.
toward the end there.
Yeah.
But so I don't know. Maybe it's just prepping.
Well, I like the timeline, or like not really timeline. The kind of the scale you give of like how to go into it, of things. Not or say the word drug. I mean, if I could call it a drug, like mushrooms, and like how you go through the list of how to get to. And then you go, I guess, acid. Did you put LSD at the end there of that?
Yeah, well, my list was meditation first, and then a float tank, and then MDMA, and then MDA. But that's only because MDMA is easier to find. I would say skip right to MDA and skip over MDMA, which is a more speedy, less psychedelic version. And MDA is just much harder to find and less well-known and less popular. And then I put mushrooms and then LSD after that. But for me, mushrooms is way, 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 way more of a trip.
And it's far more, it's easier, it's accessible. Highly accessible.
But LSD is like so real. It's like so functional. It's so like LSD for me, and this isn't the same way for everybody. LSD for me is like, I'm like, am I tripping right now? I can't really tell if I'm tripping. And then DMT after that. DMT, there's no question. DMT is a dissociative. Yeah. I did ketamine for the first time like a week or so ago.
And how was that?
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. What was that? What was that like?
It was interesting. It was a little bit like DMT, just darker and like an emptier kind of feel to it. But it was very similar as a dissociative. It definitely ketamine's like a horse tranquilizer, right? Yeah, okay. I took like a pony dose. I mean, it is much in the same way. It will It will make you feel as if you are not a human anymore, and that you are in this other world entirely, which I believe is inside of your head. Other people don't. And yeah, it is fucking jarring. But ketamine, now that I think about it, I mean, the way that I did ketamine, I'm shooting a documentary about psychedelics, and I did ketamine in a lab setting. And with a therapist there. So I have this 80-year-old dude who's like from Texas and like very, don't judge a book by its cover, but because he seemed very like conservative and whatnot. And it was, so first off, the first thing it does is it tranquilizes you. That's the very first thing that it does. So it knocks out that anxiety immediately. So someone with anxiety, maybe that would be the way to go.
Yeah.
Because
So you're physically out.
Trank me.
I guess you're supposed to be. I didn't. I was
Okay.
able to talk through the whole thing. My mouth wasn't working very well, but I was able to talk through the whole thing. But it will relax you. That's the first thing it does, is relax you before the trip. And so that would be an easier one. But the problem is the way that the world we live in right now, most people's ketamine experiences are ketamine that you get on the street.
Yeah, like
and who knows what the fuck is in
the
it.
club drug scene of K-holing and all that kind of
And
stuff.
then who knows how much you're supposed to take or whatever, and you snort X amount.
I think a lot of the majority of drugs, like you stated in your show, if it could just be fucking scientifically regulated or tested, so we can know what the fuck it does and how to properly dose it, how to do all of that shit. Because I think all of it has a benefit in some way. You know what I mean? Like you said, like they use cocaine for dumb shit, but most people use it to snort up their nose and fuck or whatever you do.
Try to fuck.
Or try to fuck when you're on cocaine. But I mean, like, mushrooms have been known to like help depression.
Fuck on cocaine. God.
You ever done it?
I don't
It's
get
not
fucking
fun.
on drugs.
It's
I don't
not
get
fun.
it.
I don't want to.
I mean, alcohol, sure.
But to an extent.
But yeah, to an extent. But I mean, and that's just about like lowering your inhibitions and everything else. The idea of like fucking, well, I mean, I guess maybe cocaine, but the idea of like fucking on a psychedelic is a nightmare to me. I think that I've had plenty of opportunities to. I think that if I ever did fuck on a psychedelic, I would immediately picture me fucking like a monkey.
Yeah.
Because it's what we are. And I would just see it for what it is and be outside myself and be like, this is the fucking silliest, most ridiculous thing a human can do.
By Cameron.
By Cam.
Thanks, dude.
By Cams.
OKCcomedy.com.
Shout out.
Man, I've been in that moment. I mean, like I said, I'm not as well, traveled as some, but even if it's just like going out to the bar, drinking, going home, doing a little nightcap, then you're pumping away, and there's that moment where you're like, I am not that far removed from a monkey fucking a football. Like I am not that. I am the monkey fucking the football.
Well, that's why alcohol is so good for fucking, because it'll make you forget that. Like, I spend so much time reading about all of this shit, and like, I mean, weed is not the best thing for me in that regard, because it's just like, yeah, I'm a fucking monkey right now. I'm a stupid fucking monkey. Yeah, sex feels good, and it's great, and we all want to do more of it, blah, 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 and have it be better and this and that. But then you see like a couple dogs or turtles or whatever fucking animal doing it, and you're like, that is ridiculous.
Well, no, have you ever like been in the act of coitus and having the thought of like, it's kind of weird that we do this.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
and kind of gross.
It's
like,
pretty gross.
is.
Sex is gross.
But it
Sounds
feels
weird.
great, and that's Mother Nature, God, whatever the fuck you want to call it. If it
didn't feel good, we wouldn't do it. We wouldn't be here.
and then we wouldn't make
Plain and
people.
simple.
But of course, okay, like just being boys here. Like, of course it
Just
feels
boys being boys.
just boys fucking boys here.
Gross, dude. Come on.
I mean,
now.
too
I'm about
far.
to walk out of this podcast. Sometimes you just say something wrong and it comes out the wrong way, and then people leave.
I love that Oklahoma stance you're doing here. Like, but yeah, like okay, like sex is great, feels good, whatever.
Sure.
But like when you're eating pussy, like
Then get dirty. NSFW, guys.
dirty boys here.
Jesus.
But sometimes it's like, this is like, I mean, it's kind of weird. Like,
Yeah.
I'm planting my face where the pee-pee comes
Well,
out.
think about it this way. That's not something that is done in nature.
Do monkeys eat
See-
pussy? That is what I want to
is
know.
that a thing?
Well, monkeys, well, yeah. And,
Do monkeys eat out each other? Or like, are there monkey blowjobs?
Yeah. Big time.
It's weird.
There seriously, I'm not putting it on. Like, are there monkey blowjobs?
Oh,
Like,
just look up like bonobos. All they do is
Well,
fuck.
we're they're their closest.
All they
yeah.
do is fuck, but do they blow each other?
Yeah, I would assume so.
Has a monkey ever like went around
They
the
like
back a little bit
scissors
and
and
like put it up that monkey butt?
Has a
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure probably.
Has a monkey ever
I'm sure
juggled the
probably
balls?
more times than we have.
Has a
So
female
weird.
monkey ever like fucked a male monkey with like a strap-on banana? Is what I want to know.
No, but
Pretty
they don't
don't go that
have.
far.
They haven't thought of it.
yet,
Yeah.
and that's when they evolve into
So
humans.
Shane, let's
Yeah, that's the Planet of the Apes. It's in the next movie.
Yeah, it's in the next one.
Planet of the Vapes. Let's put a banana strap on a female monkey and see if like the male monkeys like present.
I don't know if that'll happen.
Never mind.
A banana's pretty big, man.
Give it a million years, it might happen.
Maybe down the road.
Yeah,
It's something worth pondering.
it is.
Put it in a clinical study.
So I want to go back, Shane. You're from. I want to go back to fucking monkeys. Now, you're from a Catholic background.
Yeah.
We're Oklahoma boys. I've known this
Just
guy.
some boys.
I've known this guy since 7th grade,
Yeah.
and we met each other through the church, playing in a Christian band, man, just playing that Christian
you guys
rock.
must have been cool as fuck.
Oh, one of us were.
The
you know?
coolest.
Yeah.
The coolest.
Man, I have this residual guilt, like growing up, and that's what I want to get into. Like, you're from a small town, we're from a small town, different towns, different flavors of Christianity. But I want to go back, man. Like, what was it like being a kid in that small town of La Crosse, or just outside of La Crosse?
You know what's really interesting is you know the old cliche about Catholic guilt.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
I never really thought that I felt that because I rebelled against it from so young, and so I've had this reoccurring DMT thing where it's like I get to experience either what it's like to be God, or I'm God, or God's explaining something to me. And by the way, this isn't what I think is happening. It's just like this is what the hallucination is. And, like a dream. Think of it like a dream. And there is this like overwhelming guilt of like having been responsible for all of these things. Because, yeah, there's a lot of great, but also knowing that it's responsible for all of this bad stuff as well. And then even if it doesn't have control over it, blah, blah, blah. So I had this kind of reoccurring, and then I went and did my ketamine treatment, and there was this moment like that within my K-hole trip. And I was able to talk through it, which is unusual. Like the doctor told me I'd be out, and I kept on. I was sharing with him this idea that keeps on happening because it's happening at that moment. And then after a while, he's like, "It seems like responsibility and guilt are like a big thing weighing on you." I'm like, "Oh fuck yeah, it is." Big time. I feel lots of responsibility with just like things like not getting on top of things as much as I should, and then and my parents like worked 90 fucking hours a week and expected me to be the same, and then made me feel like ashamed for not wanting to do the same thing.
Oh yeah.
And it was just, I just had this revelation like a month or two ago, or a week or two ago, whenever this ketamine treatment was, and I was like, oh yeah, Catholic guilt. That's what people are talking about. I was just like blind to it before.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's like a parallel, because you say Catholic guilt, we say Christian guilt. Like, man, I'm 36 years old. I still have the Christian guilt, man. And you know, I don't consider myself like an atheist. I'm a pussy. Like I'm an agnostic. Okay. Like I'm not going to, I will not go as far as to denounce anything, but
Sure.
I don't know. So
you put some chips on red and you put the equal number of chips on black, and let's see what happens.
See what happens.
Just, you know, if I die, I die. You know, I'm just covering the bases here.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I have friends that are like fuck God. Isolate that, please. But like, I have friends that are like,
Okay.
yeah, I have friends that are like, fuck it. And I have friends that are like, well, not so much. And I have Christian friends, and I just try to be reverent. I try to be like, you know, decent or whatever. Like I'm not trying to be mean or, you know, whatever. But there are some parallels here. Like, I don't know. Like, so you're a total atheist, right? Like,
Well, I had been all my life. In fact, exceptionally atheist. Most of it. Once I knew what it was, once I knew what atheism was, I was like, oh yeah, that's me, and I'm extra that. And DMT has made me be a little more toward the agnostic side, for sure.
Yeah.
It's been a while. It's been like 6 months since I've done DMT now, because my last ones spooked me into believing stuff. So I'm taking a break, and now I'm steadily like back toward the atheism
okay.
side of things. And so, I mean, also the problem is that in the more you learn, just like in science, with anything in science, the problem is labels. Labels kind of are screwing up everything,
Right.
and putting and making us categorize things incorrectly.
Well, and that's my big problem with everything now, is like the quantifying. Like, you have to be all this or all this. It's black or white or whatever. You know, I didn't mean that in the bad way, but like,
Well, no, actually,
polarizing.
They'll show people colors, so you can have say 4 different colors. I'm putting my fingers out to 4 different points. And
Almost like you're cupping a breast.
this side has
a monkey breath.
just some boys.
Just cupping breasts.
This side has 2 points for blue, and
Okay.
then this side has 2 points for red. It's red next to blue on the spectrum. I don't know. I'm drunk right now. We'll go with it. And but within that, there's 2 points in the middle that are right next to each other, but they're both considered different colors. One is red, one is blue, and you show people different pictures of these colors, and you can show people 2 in the blue category that are as far away as they could possibly be, and people will be like, oh, those 2 colors are closer. Whereas if you show people these 2 colors, one is blue and one is red, but they're right next to each other on the color spectrum, they'll think those colors are further away, because our brains form these categories. And in fact, different cultures, if you give kids like 300 different colored crayons to draw a rainbow, different cultures will predictably draw different colored rainbows because of how they're taught. So how you're taught the colors of the rainbow predicts how you perceive a rainbow. And this is the problem with labeling things. Like there's interesting studies about how we look at old people. So there's these AIT tests that's something like assessing intuition assessment test, IAT, and it's showing you pictures, and you have to connect two pictures. So it will show you a word like old, and then you have to click a word like fast or something like that right afterwards. But if it's not associated, usually people think old and slow, so they'll click on the slow word faster. That's me doing a horrible job of explaining this, but just Google IAT. There's a million tests that you can do. So anyhow, they test people that are younger, and they ask them their ideas of old people. And the worse your idea is of an old person, like if you think they're like dumb and old and slow and racist, like we were talking about earlier, those people end up having a shorter lifespan. The reason being is because those people have set in their head an idea of what old people are, and then when they become old people, they're now the whatever piece of shit that they had considered themselves to be. And so they start giving up on life, and it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Weird.
Yeah. So
That's
this
crazy.
is the trouble with labeling anything. So that's part of the problem with this whole atheist, religion, agnostic thing is labels are nice when you have like an easy assessment to make, like that's a door, that's a window,
Right.
It's a nice handy little thing. Sometimes you're wrong, sometimes most of the time you're right, and when you are wrong, there's probably not a whole lot of harm done. But when it comes to labeling ourselves and labeling humans and labeling these bigger ideas, we run into a lot of
labeling the bigger
troubles.
ideas, like labeling the big thing as God. I think that's the big thing of like, and that's what psychedelics.
Label.
That's what psychedelics kind of show you. It's like there really isn't one, and it kind of is everything. Like I grew up Christian. We both grew up in Christian, and I went kind of atheist when I started actually smoking weed and getting into more like mushrooms and shit like that. And then more of like, it's everything. We are all everything. Buddhism basically tells you like we are all one thing. We are all just kind of everything. So yeah, like putting a label on that, like how can a human being put that's God, that's what that is. It's a person in the sky. That just seems so fucking weird, right?
Well, and to get like more into it, like as I get older, like again, raised in the Christian background or whatever. As I get older, like I don't believe in that like certain flavor, but I do believe maybe or not, I don't know, that like how did this happen? Like Shane, how did this happen? Like in your experiences, your travels, like agnostic, atheist, whatever. Like, was it like? Are you a Big Bang guy? Are you a?
I'm 1,000% a Big Bang guy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So is it just like a thing that happened? Like, I guess my big question is like
what happened before the Big Bang?
No, not even that. Like, I guess my big question is for you, like, what does it all mean, man?
That's an easy one. I think that the idea that there's a singular meaning is a delusion within our head that we've evolved.
Right.
I think that we've evolved to perceive a singular purpose, and that it's not that we're heading toward a singular meaning, but we've evolved an instinct making us think that, which instead prods us in arbitrary directions and keeps us moving.
And that direction is to hate a certain people that you don't understand, right?
No,
I'm joking. I'm joking.
It can be a million different directions.
Yeah. The last thing I want to bring up, and we're going to wrap up here soon, but you brought up the float tank experience, and Josh has been getting me interested in doing this, we have a float tank center up in Edmond, right down the street from our work.
Yeah.
We work together.
So I've been listening to Joe Rogan's podcast for quite a long time, and he is I actually heard you on the Joe Rogan. You were on Joe Rogan, right? I heard you on the podcast. You're talking about the float tanks. I just want to make sure I fuck that up. But
You're good.
Did you say food tank? Did you say food tank?
Food tank. It's a food tank, and you lay in it's like in ramen. You lay in ramen, and it's organic. The whole time I'm like, fuck, I want to do that. And then when they opened one up in Edmond, which is a suburb of Oklahoma City, it's like, I want to fucking do that. And for my birthday, like 2 years ago, my wife got me a fucking, like a gift certificate to go for a free float. And I haven't done it yet because I've been kind of nervous as fuck to do it. Because I've heard it can, because I don't want to do the thing where you keep the lights on and have music. Like, I want to go like all in. It's like for a first time.
Honestly, you're building it up too much. You're probably going to be bored to death.
Really?
Your first time.
Well, the thing is, though,
I would let go of your expectations. I don't think it'll be scary unless you have. I think the standard that they use is if you're claustrophobic, if you can spend like a minute in an elevator with like 2 or 3 people in it without like getting anxious, you should be able to handle a float tank just fine.
My problem is like we talked about this to some friends, and they were like, "No, man, you got to get high first. You got to get high." It's like, and that might be cool, but like maybe I don't want to get high. Maybe I just want to float. Like maybe that's all I need personally. I mean, some people might really want to get high or do mushrooms or whatever, but like maybe all I need to do at this point in my life is to just float. Yeah. Maybe. I mean, I like weed, but like maybe all I need to do is just like float.
I've learned a lot from floating. It's not like some crazy experience. I mean, that was disappointing at first, was when people were like, "Oh, it's like tripping and blah blah blah." Like, no, it's not like tripping in any way, but it's relaxing as fuck, and it can really spawn some creative ideas.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. Like I tested it out. Like I was like, I'm gonna float in the bathtub.
They're not the same thing.
I'm a bath guy. Are you a bath or shower guy, Shane?
Oh, I'm a shower guy.
Thank you. Baths are disgusting.
No,
you're a lunatic.
You're stewing in your own. You are your own bowl of fucking ramen.
But I'm not gross. Yeah. I'm not gross.
No, the human body is disgusting.
I didn't think you were gross until you started talking about how gross this this gross ass thing that you do.
I have an asshole and balls. I am gross.
Sure.
But I'm not a disgusting, like, stinky
But when you
guy.
lay in a bathtub, you're laying in, because you're not getting in, you're not cleaning first and then getting in it. You're getting in a bath of your own.
By the way, once like females take charge of everything and men are the ones that are discriminated against,
which will happen.
You're going to have like the protest signs. I have an asshole and balls and I am gross. You're going to like really feel empowered by that. That's the sign.
The manist movement.
Yeah.
The manist?
Yeah.
I like that.
That's going to be your sign. Yeah. I have an asshole and balls. I am gross.
We have dicks.
A bathtub.
We have dicks. Oh, please suck them. But like when I'm in the bathtub.
See, that's just you giving in again.
Damn it.
You're a bad manist.
I'm a bath manist, but like if I'm in the tub and I'm just like soaping up, I got the bubbles going.
Gross.
Like I don't think about anything. I just like I get in there, I dip. I don't even soap sometimes.
Well, like when you were a kid, like being a kid and like being in a bubble bath was kind of like the coolest thing, because you're in, it's a safe zone. You know, it's a
safe space. Yeah,
it's a safe space, and I think that maybe that's kind of, and maybe in some way subconsciously, the flotation tank does. Well, the flotation is totally different because it's the temperature of your body, which creeps me out. How the fuck they can make that the same thing? Weird.
It's just a temperature thing.
Yeah, but like, is everybody's body temperature the same?
Yep.
Fucking.
Pretty
so
much.
you're saying like a skinny waif like beautiful, beautiful nubile young lady is the same temperature as a 400-pound male.
Are you trying to? Yeah, pretty much.
Really?
I mean, there's different insulation.
98.6, right?
Yeah, I mean the variance will affect how different people perceive their environment, but yeah,
We all run the same temperature.
Well, there you go. Science.
Science.
I think that's a good way to end it.
Sure.
Shane Mauss,
On science?
Thank you,
Dude.
guys.
super, super great show tonight, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for doing this, man. I know it's
Thank
late.
you.
It's fucking.
No,
it's almost
thank you
2
guys.
a.m.
I think I was
Yeah.
supposed to do this earlier, so
Yeah,
I don't
it's
know
all
how it feels
right.
bad. Oh, you
Check out his
guys.
podcast?
Yeah,
All right.
we are here.
Here we are.
Oh, pff,
Real close.
Well, we are here, but here we are. It's
way
the
to blow
podcast.
it, Rob. All right.
Jesus.
We
What
are
else,
here
man?
with the Here We Are
The last thing
podcast.
you said
Here we are
you said in your
podcast.com.
show. Sorry, do that again, please.
Here we are podcast.com at Shane Comedy at Twitter.
Twitter. Oh, so I have a question for you, man.
Mm-hmm.
Will you share this?
Sure.
Okay, because we've done some decent interviews lately, and then we do that thing where it's like this is a little startup thing,
Sure.
and then we get some guys that we're like excited about, and they don't share it, and we're like, man, come on, give us that little boost. You know, you've needed that little boost. You know, like you maybe many years ago.
Sure. What are you after?
I mean, pussy, monkey pussy.
Oh, yeah.
Some
We're-
DMT laced monkey pussy.
Yeah.
Sweet.
So yeah, Shane, thank you so much.
Thanks, man.
Thank
It's
you,
been awesome.
guys.